The security feeds showed the exact moment Archsage Benthor's psychic barrier shattered. 1 second, the Meridian stood tall, his silver-scaled skin gleaming under the vault's harsh lights as he approached the staff. The next, his carefully constructed mental shields, the product of 3 centuries of meditation, crumbled like sand in a storm. The weapon's swirling energies had torn through his defenses as if they were paper, leaving him collapsed on the floor, his consciousness retreating so deeply into itself that even the best healers couldn't reach him. Security Chief Zarek Sin watched the footage for the 100th time, her reptilian eyes narrowing at the familiar sequence. The staff hung suspended in its containment field, exactly as it had for the past 3,000 years. Its surface rippled with patterns that hurt her eyes if she looked too long, like liquid metal that couldn't quite decide what shape to hold. "Play it again," she ordered, mandibles clicking in frustration. "Focus on the energy signature analysis." The holographic display rewound, numbers scrolling across its surface. The staff's power output spiked exactly 0.3 seconds before Venthor's shields failed. Not after. Before. It had anticipated his attempt. Chief, her assistant, a young Axiom whose crystalline form caught the light in nervous fragments, approached with another data tablet. "The Galactic Council is convening an emergency session. This marks the 1,000th documented attempt to claim the artifact." Zara's claws tapped against her console. 1,000 attempts. 1,000 failures. The vault's walls bore witness to them all. Scorch marks from energy weapons, deep gouges from kinetic impacts, the lingering traces of failed containment spells. Every species in the known galaxy had tried their hand at mastering the staff. The Meridians with their psychic might, the Axiom Lords with their reality-shaping crystals, even the gaseous void dancers, who could slip through solid matter, had failed to grasp it. Mom. The junior clerk who brought her morning nutrition supplements still lingered by the door. Zara had almost forgotten about him. "I've been studying the historical records, and I noticed something unusual." She turned, ready to dismiss him, but something in his tone gave her pause. "Speak." "Well," he shuffled his feet, his bioluminescent spots pulsing with anxiety. "Has anyone ever tried just asking it?" The silence that followed was deafening. Several nearby officers stopped their work to stare at him. "Asking? The weapon?" Zara's translator struggled to convey her incredulity. "It's not sentient. It's a relic. A tool. With respect, ma'am, we don't actually know that." The clerk's spots were practically strobing now. The precursors who created it, their technology operated on principles we still don't understand. Every attempt to claim the staff has been based on the assumption that it needs to be dominated, controlled. But what if that's why it rejects everyone? What if we've been approaching this all wrong? Before Zara could respond, her console erupted with alerts. The council chamber was calling. With a flick of her claw, she dismissed the clerk and opened the communication channel. The faces of the galaxy's most powerful beings materialized around her in a semicircle of light. "Security Chief," the first speaker's voice resonated in her mind, bypassing verbal communication entirely. "We have reviewed the latest incident. The Council has reached a decision. The staff is to be sealed permanently. No more attempts will be authorized. The risk is too great." Zara bowed her head in acknowledgement, but her eyes strayed to the security feed. For just a moment, she could have sworn the staff's swirling patterns had changed, as if it was reacting to the Council's words, as if it was waiting for something, or someone, who would understand what everyone else had missed. The clerk's words echoed in her mind as she began implementing the Council's orders. For the first time in her career, she wondered if they were all blind to a truth so simple it had been invisible. Sarah Chen stood before the mirror in her quarters, adjusting the environmental suit that marked her as a human among the stars. The semi-transparent material shimmered slightly, compensating for Nexus Prime's higher gravity and denser atmosphere. 3 weeks into her internship at the Galactic Archives, and she still couldn't shake the feeling that she was playing dress-up in someone else's universe. The dreams had started the night she arrived. At first, she blamed the different atmospheric composition, the subtle variations in the station's day-night cycle, but they persisted, growing clearer each time. In them, she walked through corridors of light, following a song that seemed to resonate with her very atoms. At its end always waited the staff, its surface rippling like quicksilver in moonlight. "Get it together, Chen," she muttered, checking her suit's readouts one last time. Earth had fought hard for this cultural exchange position. She wouldn't risk humanity's standing in the galaxy over some weird dreams. The Archive's main hall stretched before her, its ceiling lost in the artificial mist that kept the more gaseous species comfortable. Holographic signs flickered in a dozen languages, their auto-translation features struggling with Earth standard. Sarah made her way to her workstation, nodding to the crystalline Axiom researcher who shared her documentation duties. "Chen human." Vexthor's resonant voice filled her mind before she saw him. The Meridian supervisor descended from his gravity-neutral platform, silver scales reflecting the hall's ambient light. "Your vital signs show interrupted sleep patterns again. Perhaps the environment is too taxing for your species." Sarah fought back, a flash of irritation. Every mistake, every minor deviation from peak efficiency, became ammunition for those who opposed human integration into galactic society. "I'm fine, Supervisor. Just adjusting to the schedule." She didn't mention the dreams. Didn't tell him how last night's had been different. How she'd finally reached the staff, almost touched it. How its song had followed her into waking, thrumming just below the frequency of conscious thought. "Nevertheless, you will report to medical for evaluation." Vexthor's mental voice carried the weight of authority. "We cannot risk." The floor beneath them shuddered. Warning lights flashed across the hall's curved walls. Sarah steadied herself against her workstation as the artificial gravity fluctuated. "Security breach in Vault 7. The station's AI announced in its melodious tones. "All personnel clear the affected sectors." Sarah froze. Vault 7. She'd seen it in her dreams, though she'd never been to that section of the archives. Never been told what it contained. But she knew with a certainty that bordered on madness, that the staff was there. "Chen human." Vexthor's mental shout snapped her back to reality. "Evacuate with the others. Now." She nodded, turning toward the designated emergency routes. But as the crowd of researchers and archivists pushed toward the exits, Sarah found herself moving against the flow. Her feet carried her toward a service corridor she'd never noticed before. The song filled her mind now, drowning out Vexthor's demands and the station's alarms. Each step felt more right than the last, as if she'd rehearsed this moment 1,000 times in her dreams. Security cameras tracked her movement, their lenses whirring in confusion as she passed through supposedly sealed barriers without resistance. Later, investigators would spend weeks analyzing the footage, trying to understand how a simple human had bypassed the most advanced security systems in the galaxy. But in that moment, Sarah wasn't thinking about security or protocols, or humanity's precarious position in galactic politics. She thought only of the song, of the staff that waited in the vault ahead, and of the overwhelming certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be. Behind her, Vexthor's urgent communications to Security Chief Zara went unanswered. The chief was too busy staring at her monitors, watching as every prediction algorithm and threat assessment program simultaneously crashed, unable to compute the impossible. A human walking unopposed toward the galaxy's most dangerous artifact. The vault door loomed before Sarah, its ancient metal etched with warnings in languages dead for millennia. Her suit's sensors screamed as they detected energy levels far beyond their designed parameters. The staff's containment field pulsed with a blue-white radiance that should have been blinding, yet somehow felt gentle against her eyes. "Step away from the vault, human." Security Chief Zara's voice echoed through the corridor. Sarah turned to see a semicircle of guards, their weapons trained on her. The chief's reptilian features were locked in an expression of professional neutrality, but her tail twitched with barely contained tension. "I can't." Sarah replied, surprised by the calm in her own voice. "It's calling me. Can't you hear it?" The song filled her consciousness now, a symphony of mathematical precision and raw emotion that made her previous dreams feel like pale echoes. The staff's surface rippled faster, its patterns shifting from abstract swirls to recognizable symbols before dissolving again. The artifact has killed or broken the minds of beings far more advanced than you. Vex Thor's mental voice carried notes of genuine concern beneath its condescension. Your primitive nervous system cannot hope to. The containment field flickered. Every guard took an involuntary step back. Security Chief Zora barked orders into her comm unit, demanding emergency containment protocols, but Sarah barely heard them. The staff's song had changed, becoming something older, deeper. Images flashed through her mind. A civilization that had transcended the boundaries between organic and artificial, not through conquest or force, but through understanding and symbiosis. Sarah's hand moved toward the field. Time seemed to slow. "Stop her," Zara commanded. Multiple stun beams converged on Sarah's position. The staff's containment field warped, intercepting each shot and transforming their energy into cascading waves of light that painted impossible colors across the vault's walls. In the same instant, every piece of technology in the chamber, weapons, comms, even the guard's neural implants, went dead. In the sudden darkness, Sarah's fingers brushed the staff's surface. The universe held its breath. Light exploded outward, not from the staff, but from the point of contact between it and Sarah's hand. The vault's auxiliary power kicked in, revealing a scene that would be replayed billions of times across the galaxy in the coming days. Every alien in the room, from the guards to Security Chief Zara herself, kneeling before the human and the staff she now held. "I don't understand," Sarah whispered, feeling the staff's weight, somehow both substantial and negligible, in her grasp. "I'm not trying to control anyone. Please, stand up." The aliens rose, many looking confused about why they had knelt in the first place. The staff hummed in Sarah's hands, its surface now flowing like liquid starlight, reshaping itself to match her grip perfectly. "Impossible," Vex Thor breathed, his metallic scales pale with shock. "The mineral composition of your bones, the electrical patterns of your nervous system, they should be completely incompatible with precursor technology. Yet it's responding to you as if it was made for me," Sarah finished. Through her connection with the staff, she understood suddenly that humanity's supposed technological inferiority, the very thing that made them objects of derision in galactic society, was precisely what made this moment possible. Their adaptability, their ability to work with tools rather than try to dominate them, had prepared them for this role without anyone realizing it. Security Chief Zara stepped forward, her weapons systems finally rebooting. "The Council will want to examine this development. They'll need to understand how." The staff pulsed once, and every screen in the vault lit up with the same message, repeated in every known language. "Per tiniores epi stabilized. INITYALIZE INSEQUENC beginning." Sarah felt the staff's consciousness brush against her own, gentle but vast beyond comprehension. She realized, with a clarity that took her breath away, that everything up until now, the dreams, the security breach, even her internship assignment, had been merely prologue. The real story was about to begin. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber buzzed with barely contained chaos. Holographic displays showed the same footage on loop. Sarah Chen, holding the staff as its power transformed the sterile vault into a swirling canvas of light and possibility. Representatives from 1,000 worlds watched, their reactions ranging from outrage to awe, as the human demonstrated abilities that should have been impossible. In the center of the chamber, Sarah stood with the staff, now perfectly balanced in her grip. Its surface had settled into a pattern that mimicked her DNA structure, though the deeper meanings encoded in its swirls remained a mystery. Every few minutes it would pulse with energy, and another marvel would unfold. A Meridian diplomat's damaged neural pathways, scared from an old psychic battle. Healed with a gesture, the dying star threatening the Axiom colony in the Carina sector, stabilized with a thought. Distance itself seemed to bend around Sarah and the staff, as if space was eager to accommodate their will. "This is unprecedented," first speaker Clark declared, their crystalline form refracting the chamber's light. "The artifact's power output has increased by orders of magnitude since bonding with the human. Our most advanced sensors cannot even quantify." "Precisely why this is dangerous," interrupted Counselor Venn, a void dancer whose gaseous form roiled with agitation. A primitive species suddenly gifted with power beyond their comprehension. The potential for catastrophe. The staff hummed, and Sarah felt understanding flow through her like a river finding its natural course. "You're wrong," she said, her voice carrying an authority that surprised even her. "The staff isn't gifting us with power. It's showing us what's possible when we stop trying to dominate technology and start working with it." To demonstrate, she lifted the staff slightly. Its energy field expanded, creating a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. But this wasn't the standard political or navigational chart the Council was used to. This map showed connections, threads of possibility and potential that linked worlds and species in ways their most advanced computers had never detected. The precursors didn't create the staff as a weapon. Sarah continued, watching understanding dawn on some faces, while others hardened with denial. They made it as a key, a tool to unlock the next stage of galactic evolution. But it could only work with a species that hadn't lost their ability to adapt, to learn, to grow alongside their tools rather than trying to master them. Security Chief Zara, standing guard at the chamber's edge, clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "The clerk's question," she muttered. "All this time, we just needed to ask." The staff's hum deepened, resonating with something in the station's ancient infrastructure. Hidden panels slid open throughout the chamber, revealing technology that had waited dormant for millennia. The council erupted in shocked murmurs as precursor interfaces activated, responding to the staff's presence. "Impossible," an Axiom Lord declared, their crystalline surface fracturing with emotion. "Our analysis of human civilization showed them barely capable of interstellar travel. Their neural architecture is simplistic, their technology crude. They cannot possibly be the species the precursors intended." The staff pulsed again, and every piece of advanced technology in the room synchronized with it instantly. Weapons systems, neural implants, quantum computers, all of them humming in perfect harmony with the artifact that every species had tried to dominate, and that had chosen to partner with humanity instead. Sarah felt the staff's consciousness merge more deeply with her own, sharing centuries of accumulated knowledge. She saw now why it had waited so long, why it had rejected the galaxy's most advanced species. The precursors hadn't been looking for masters or conquerors. They'd been looking for students eager to learn, companions willing to grow. They'd been looking for humanity all along. Sarah's quarters in the diplomatic wing of Nexus Prime had been upgraded to reflect her new status, but she found no comfort in the luxurious accommodations. The staff rested against her bed, its surface rippling with constant activity as it processed the station's data streams. Through their connection, she felt the mounting tension throughout the station, like an approaching storm. The assassination attempts had started 3 days ago. The first had been obvious. A Meridian strike team, their psychic shields calibrated to block the staff's power. They hadn't counted on Sarah's growing ability to read the quantum probability streams the staff revealed to her. She had simply not been in her quarters when their strike hit. The second attempt had been subtler. A void dancer infiltrator, slipping through the molecular gaps in her walls as Sarah slept. The staff had transformed the assassin's gaseous form into a harmless light show, much to the horror of the other void dancers who insisted such a thing was physically impossible. "Security breach in progress," the station's AI announced calmly, interrupting Sarah's thoughts. The windows of her quarters exploded inward, crystalline shards moving with deadly precision. But the staff was already responding. its power flowing through Sarah with practiced ease. The razor-sharp crystals froze in midair, transforming into a dazzling array of prismatic light that revealed 7 Axiom assassins hidden in stealth fields. Really? Sarah sighed, directing the light show to trap the assassins in bubbles of bent space. The diplomatic reception starts in 20 minutes. Couldn't this have waited until after dessert? Security Chief Zara burst in with her response team, taking in the scene with professional detachment. "Third attempt this week," she noted, mandibles clicking. "The Axiom Lords will deny involvement, of course." "Of course," Sarah agreed, letting the staff reset the room's quantum state. The windows reformed, the damage erased as if it had never happened. Another impossible feat that was becoming strangely routine. "The council session is starting," Zara announced, her tail twitching with suppressed emotion. "They're discussing the leaked documents." Sarah had seen the documents herself, planted throughout the galactic networks with surgical precision. They painted a damning picture: humanity secretly possessing technology far beyond their known capabilities, manipulating events behind the scenes for centuries. The fact that every expert who examined them confirmed their authenticity only proved how sophisticated the forgery was. "The Meridians are pushing for quarantine of Earth," Zora continued. "The Void Dancers support them. The Axiom Lords abstained, probably because they're too busy trying to kill you to vote." The staff's surface shifted, displaying patterns that Sarah had learned to read like a second language. "They're scared," she translated. "Not of what humanity might do with this power, but of what it means that we were chosen to receive it." A deep thrumming filled the station, making Sarah's teeth vibrate. The staff's patterns accelerated, showing her glimpses of probability streams that made her head spin. Something was coming. Something bigger than assassination attempts and political maneuvering. "Chief," Sarah said, grabbing the staff as its power surged, "I need you to trust me. The next few minutes are going to get strange, even by recent standards." Zora's scales rippled with alarm as every light in the station flickered simultaneously. "What's happening?" "The staff isn't just showing me possibilities anymore," Sarah explained, watching as ancient symbols began appearing on every screen and surface. "It's warning me. All these attempts to stop us, to control this power, they've triggered something. Something the precursors left behind." The station shuddered as if struck by an invisible hand. In the distance, alarms began to wail. "The real test," Sarah whispered, feeling the staff's power coil through her like a spring preparing to release, "is about to begin." The emergency evacuation sirens wailed through Nexus Prime as Sarah raced through its twisting corridors, the staff pulsing with increasingly urgent patterns in her grip. Behind her, Security Chief Zara struggled to keep pace, her scales reflecting the strobing emergency lights. "The station's deep space sensors are detecting massive energy signatures," Zara reported between breaths. "They're appearing at the edges of every major system in the galaxy." "The Council is in chaos." Sarah barely heard her. The staff was showing her something, fragments of memory and purpose that made her blood run cold. "We need to reach the Central Archive. Now." A security barrier blocked their path, its energy field crackling with enough power to vaporize anything that touched it. Sarah raised the staff, expecting it to bend space or transmute energy as it had done countless times before. Instead, it slipped from her grasp. No, she reached for it, but the staff was already changing. Its metallic surface flowed like mercury, transforming into pure energy that wrapped around her outstretched hands like living light. When it settled, it had become a series of intricate patterns etched into her skin, glowing with inner fire. "By the first ones," Zara whispered, mandibles slack with shock. "What's happening?" The security barrier dissolved. Through her new connection with the staff, Sarah understood why. It wasn't deactivating the barrier. It was communicating with it. The technology recognized the staff's energy signature as having maximum authority. It was never a weapon, Sarah said, watching the pattern swirl across her skin. Ancient knowledge flooded her mind, finally unlocked by this deeper connection. The staff, the vault, this entire station, they're all parts of a single system, a network that spans the galaxy. They reached the central archive, its massive doors opening at their approach. Inside, the normally pristine chamber was transforming. Hidden panels slid away, revealing banks of technology that hummed with the same energy that now coursed through Sarah's veins. The precursors built it all. She continued, moving to the center of the chamber where a pedestal was rising from the floor. Not as weapons or tools of control, but as a gift. A way to shepherd younger species into a new era of cooperation with technology. The pedestal's surface rippled, responding to the patterns on her skin. Holographic displays erupted around them, showing real-time images from across the galaxy. Massive structures were emerging from the cores of populated worlds, ancient machines awakening from millennia of dormancy. But something went wrong. Sarah whispered, reading the data streams that flowed through her consciousness. The species that found this technology after the precursors vanished. They tried to master it, to bend it to their will. They saw it as a means to power rather than a path to understanding. And now? Zara asked, her professional composure cracking as she watched more structures emerge on the displays. Now the system is fully active for the first time since the precursors disappeared. The staff wasn't rejecting potential masters. It was testing species, waiting for one that could understand its true purpose. Sarah placed her hands on the pedestal, feeling the entire network resonate through her. Humanity's greatest weakness in the eyes of the galaxy was actually our strength. We never lost our ability to work with our tools, to grow alongside them instead of trying to dominate them. The patterns on her skin flared brilliantly, and every piece of precursor technology in the chamber activated at once. The knowledge flowing through Sarah's mind became a torrent, showing her the full scope of what the precursors had created, and what it could become with humanity's help. The real question, she said, watching as the ancient machines continued to rise across the galaxy, is whether the other species can accept this truth before it's too late. The Galactic Council chamber had become a war room. Holographic displays showed the crisis unfolding across 1,000 worlds. Massive precursor machines rising from planetary cores, their purpose unknown but their power undeniable. The most advanced fleets in the galaxy engaged them, only to have their weapons pass through harmlessly or reflect back with devastating precision. Sarah stood at the chamber center, the glowing patterns of the transformed staff pulsing across her skin in sync with the machine's movements. Through her connection to the network, she felt every attempt to stop the awakening, every futile strike against technology that operated on principles the galaxy's finest minds couldn't comprehend. The Meridian Defense Fleet in the Carina sector has been neutralized. First Speaker Tlark announced, their crystalline form clouded with stress. No casualties, but every ship has been reduced to basic components. The Void Dancer Flotilla in Orion reports similar results. You must give us control, Councillor Venn demanded, their gaseous form swirling with agitation. Your species cannot possibly handle this level of responsibility. The power coursing through those machines could reshape reality itself. Sarah watched another fleet's weapons dissolve into harmless light. That's exactly why it chose us, she said softly. Because we don't want to control it. The patterns on her skin shifted, showing her the truth in layers of quantum probability. The precursor machines weren't weapons. They were keys, meant to unlock the next stage of galactic evolution. But that evolution required something the advanced species of the galaxy had forgotten. The ability to surrender control. The machines are approaching population centers. Security Chief Zara reported, her scales dark with concern. If they're hostile. They're not hostile, Sarah interrupted. They're waiting. Just like the staff waited. They're giving us a choice. She stepped onto the raised platform at the chamber's heart, feeling the ancient technology respond to her presence. The patterns on her skin blazed brighter, and every piece of advanced technology in the room, from neural implants to quantum computers, synchronized with her instantly. The precursors didn't leave these machines to destroy us, she continued, understanding flowing through her like a river finding its course. They left them to test us, to see if we could learn what they learned, that true advancement isn't about controlling power, but about growing alongside it. The chamber erupted in arguments. The Axiom Lords demanded immediate military action. The Meridians called for a full quarantine of human space. The Void Dancers proposed destructive solutions that would sacrifice entire systems to stop the machine's advance. Sarah felt the weight of millennia pressing down on her. The staff's consciousness, now merged with her own, showed her endless cycles of species rising and falling, each one failing this test because they couldn't take the final, crucial step. The machines will reach their final positions in 10 minutes, Zara announced. Whatever they're going to do. They're not going to do anything, Sarah said, her voice carrying an authority that silenced the chamber. We are. All of us. Together. The patterns on her skin began to flow like liquid starlight, extending outward to create a web of energy that filled the chamber. Through it, every being present felt what she felt. The vast consciousness of the precursor network, waiting not for a master, but for partners. The choice is simple, Sarah declared, watching the probability streams converge toward a single moment of decision. We can fight these machines and lose everything, or we can do something none of you have been willing to do in 10,000 years of technological advancement. She held out her hands, the pattern swirling between them like a galaxy being born. We can surrender to the unknown, learn to work with power instead of trying to control it, and become something greater than we ever imagined possible. The machines reached their final positions. Time ran out. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see if its most advanced species could learn the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in letting go. Every screen in the council chamber displayed the same countdown. 3 minutes until the precursor machines reached critical alignment. Sarah stood at the center of the web of energy flowing from the patterns on her skin, feeling the fear and resistance radiating from the assembled representatives of galactic civilization. This is madness, an Axiom Lord declared, their crystalline form fracturing with emotion. You expect us to simply surrender control of our technology, our defenses, our very way of life to these machines. No, Sarah replied, her voice resonating with harmonics that made the chamber's ancient walls hum. I expect you to do something far harder. I expect you to grow. Through her connection to the network, she felt the machine's power building. The patterns on her skin shifted, showing her the quantum probabilities collapsing toward a single moment of choice. 2 minutes remaining. Security Chief Zara announced, her scales reflecting the swirling energy that now filled the chamber. Sarah took a deep breath. The precursors didn't leave us weapons or tools of control. They left us teachers. The staff, the machines, they're not meant to be mastered. They're meant to help us evolve beyond the need for masters. She raised her hands, and the energy web expanded, touching each being in the chamber. Through it, they felt what she felt, the vast, patient consciousness of the precursor network, waiting not for submission, but for understanding. 1 minute, Zara whispered. The Meridian first speaker stepped forward, their silver scales gleaming. And if we refuse, if we choose to fight, then we lose everything, Sarah said simply. Not because the machines will destroy us, but because we'll have proven we're not ready for what comes next. 30 seconds. The patterns on Sarah's skin blazed like captured starlight. She felt the machines reaching their final positions, their power building toward a crescendo that would reshape the galaxy, one way or another. The choice is yours, she told the assembled leaders. But know this, humanity didn't master the staff. We listened to it, learned from it, grew with it. That's why it chose us, not because we were special, but because we were willing to admit we had more to learn. 10 seconds. The chamber fell silent. Sarah felt the weight of civilizations in her mind, the accumulated knowledge of species far older than humanity balanced against the simple truth she offered. Sometimes the greatest power lies in knowing when to let go. 5 seconds. The first speaker moved first, deactivating their neural implants and psychic defenses. Others followed, fear warring with hope in their expressions as they surrendered control of their advanced technology to the network. 1 second. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the moment of decision crystallize. Across the galaxy, the precursor machines reached full power. The patterns on her skin flared one final time, and everything changed. The energy web exploded outward, connecting not just the beings in the chamber, but every sentient mind in the galaxy. For one breathtaking moment, they experienced what Sarah had felt since first touching the staff: the possibility of true partnership between organic life and artificial intelligence, between consciousness and technology, between what was and what could be. When the light faded, the machines remained, but they were no longer separate, no longer alien. Through the network that now spanned the galaxy, every species could feel their presence not as a threat, but as an opportunity. The patterns on Sarah's skin settled into a gentle glow, a permanent reminder of the bridge she had helped build between past and future. "What happens now?" Zara asked, her voice filled with wonder as new possibilities unfolded in her mind. Sarah smiled, feeling the combined knowledge of the precursors and 1,000 living species flowing through the network, waiting to be explored and understood. "Now," she said, "we learn. Together." And across the galaxy, in millions of minds both organic and artificial, the same thought echoed. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning.